The Voyage Heard Round the World, directed and written by Lucas Parietti. Imagine embarking into the unknown, towards a land only credited by word and spice. Aboard a wooden ship, using only a compass and the stars, you brave the sea, where you face a multitude of dangers. You'll face cannibalistic tribes, tempestuous waters, and violent mutinies. Why undertake such a perilous voyage? What reward is worth such risk? What lies across the sea? In 1519, Ferdinand Magellan and his crew set off from Spain with the goal of sailing west to the Moluccas, also known as the Spice Islands. The crew ventured across the Atlantic, around the southern tip of South America, through the Pacific, and into the Malay archipelago. The crew visited different islands like Borneo, and their target, the Spice Islands, but in the Philippines, Magellan died at the hands of natives. His crew continued the voyage, eventually returning to Spain in 1522 by sailing across the Indian Ocean and around the Cape of Good Hope. On a single ship carrying 18 of the original 270 crew members, the remnants of the fleet sailed into Seville, carrying what little goods and men remained. One of the remaining crew members, Antonio Pigafetta, provided one of the only first-hand accounts recorded of the voyage. Magellan circumnavigated the world in order to find more efficient spice trade routes, advance world maps and navigational knowledge, and grow the wealth and influence of the Spanish Empire. Magellan circumnavigated the world in order to find an efficient westward route to the Spice Islands. After Columbus mistakenly landed in the Americas during his voyage to find a westward spice route, the new discovery largely overshadowed his previous goal, which left an opportunity for Magellan to venture west. According to Paula DeVos, a world history professor, Columbus's original goal was to find a westward spice route to the Spice Islands in East Asia, but he accidentally discovered the Americas on his journey. This discovery drew attention away from the previous goal. With the continued absence of a western spice route to Asia, this presented an opportunity for another explorer to take on Columbus's original goal. Ferdinand Magellan, funded by the same empire as Columbus, took on the original goal that Columbus failed to achieve. The presence of the Portuguese and danger on established trade routes drove the Spanish to search for a new western route. Portuguese control of the Cape of Good Hope route and crime-ridden land routes made traditional spice trade routes to Asia dangerous and expensive. These facts were the original motivation for Columbus to find a westward route. With Portugal, a main rival of Spain, on the ocean route to the East Indies in danger like thieves on land routes through the Middle East and Asia, Spain would need a route that did not present any danger to themselves. Since Magellan was taking on Columbus's original mission, the motivations were the same. Spain needed to avoid these obstacles with a trade route running in the opposite direction. Magellan circumnavigated the world in order to improve world maps and navigational data. The newly discovered Americas needed mapping for future explorers, and Magellan's route around South America provided an opportunity to acquire new cartographic data. The land of the Americas, which was becoming focused on by many European countries, was hardly mapped. The existing 1506 world map by Nicole de Caverio, a cartographer, only showed select islands in the West Indies and fragments of the Central American and South American coastline. Magellan's proposed route ran down the eastern coast of South America and under the southern tip. This would give him the opportunity to map valuable regions on the coast of South America, such as Brazil and Argentina. These new maps that would come from Magellan's voyage were very important, as countries like Spain and Portugal were beginning to shift their focus towards the Americas. The largely unmapped Pacific Islands and Malay archipelago were on the crew's way to their final destination, which provided an opportunity to map islands that they came upon and visited. The Pacific Islands and Malay archipelago were either poorly mapped or not recorded at all. A map of the Indian Ocean from 1517 by Pedro Renal, a cartographer, displays how many important islands in the area, like the Moluccas and the Philippines, seemed to be omitted or unmapped. Magellan's proposed route cut through these regions, and his actual route ended up hitting islands like the Philippines and Borneo. These encounters helped the crew, specifically Antonio Pigafetta, map the islands. Maps of these areas were very important to European powers, as the islands were known for their abundant spices and potential to economically grow the spice trade. Magellan circumnavigated the world in order to grow the wealth and influence of the Spanish Empire. Since the Moluccas and the Philippines were on Spain's side of the Tordesillas line, Magellan went to claim these islands for the Spanish crown. According to Mary Wilhelmine Williams, a historian of Latin America, the Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494 partitioned the world, with one part for the Spanish to colonize, and the other part for the Portuguese to do the same. The line, which ran across the globe, notably through Brazil, gave most of the Americas to the Spanish. According to Peter Scroose, a historical author, due to miscommunications, Spain believed that it was entitled to areas in the East Indies like the Moluccas and the Philippines. Since Spain believed the Moluccas and the Philippines lied within their claim, an expedition to these islands is logical. Magellan's voyage there would show a Spanish presence and serve as an introduction of Spanish culture to the natives. The coveted spices present in Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands, some of Magellan's main stops, presented an endeavor for economic growth for the Spanish. According to the journal of Antonio Pigafetta, a recorder of the Magellan voyage, when the crew was given their orders by the Spanish, they were told their objective was to sail west and land in the quote, spice-bearing Moluccas and bring back goods from the land. In the description of his map of the Moluccas, he mentions bringing back cloves, a luxury spice, from the islands to Spain. The islands of the Malay archipelago, specifically the Moluccas, were renowned for the spices that flowed from their land. It would make sense for Magellan to sail to the archipelago to document the spices present on specific islands and bring back a variety of different spices in bulk. Future traders could take advantage of spice info gathered on the Magellan voyage, and the spices gathered by Magellan could be sold in Spain to make a large profit. Magellan, pushing off from the shores of Europe, brought wealth, spice, and knowledge to Spain, but also heralded future explorers like Francis Drake. While often overshadowed by the likes of Columbus, Magellan still supplied our world with important information by circumnavigating the earth, and should be appreciated for his bravery to take a step into the unknown. In his own words, quote, "The sea is dangerous, and its storms terrible, but these obstacles have never been sufficient reason to remain ashore. Unlike the mediocre, intrepid spirits seek victory over those things that seem impossible. It is with an iron will that they embark on the most daring of all endeavors, to meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown." End quote.